Hi, I'm Jamie from ESL Teacher 365, and I've taught both English and dance in 6 countries. While I've had some amazing experiences when teaching abroad, I've also gone to the hospital in Costa Rica, Australia, and Spain. In this video, I'll be sharing my experience of what it was like to have emergency surgery when teaching abroad, and I'll share some essential tips that you need to know to stay healthy, whether you're teaching abroad or you're teaching online while abroad. The very first time that I taught abroad was in Costa Rica, in a small town where I taught both English and dance classes for kids and adults. It was absolutely amazing. I was there over the summer, and right before I was supposed to go home, a few of my local friends invited me to go swimming at some of the local outdoor pools. It was absolutely gorgeous. There were beautiful pools in the middle of the jungle, and we had a great time until the next day I woke up and I had a lot of ear pain and just couldn't hear very well. So I went to a local doctor in my small town. She looked in my ears and she said that I had the worst double ear infection she'd ever seen in her whole career. So that was not looking good. I was supposed to fly out within a few days, go back to the United States to finish up at university. But obviously with my ears in this condition, I couldn't fly. They scheduled me in for emergency surgery in the capital of San Jose. They were going to put in some ear tubes, which would allow me to equalize the pressure and fly back to the United States. And I don't know if it was just because at this point I was still learning Spanish and I didn't understand, but I thought that I was just going to be under local anesthesia. But the day of the surgery came, they put me on an IV, and all I remember was them asking me to count to 10 and then someone shouting, "Tequila!" and nothing after that. I woke up and I had the ear tubes put in so I could fly home, but I actually lost 25% of my hearing temporarily, and I didn't regain it for several months after the surgery. This just goes to show that you need to expect the unexpected when teaching abroad. As a foreigner, you're usually not used to the water and the food and even situations like the road conditions in your new country. So things can happen, and it's always best to be prepared and have a plan. So the rest of this video, I'm going to share some tips to help keep you healthy and safe when teaching abroad. Accidents and illnesses definitely happen a lot when living abroad because you're not used to the climate, the weather, you're not used to the food, the water. Things just tend to happen. When teaching abroad, you might be considering travel insurance and travel medical insurance. These aren't exactly the same. Travel insurance is more about trip cancellations, lost baggage, and emergency medical insurance or evacuation. Whereas travel medical insurance often covers things like doctor's visits. You can add on things like visiting the dentist. It will also help you with emergency situations, but it's also much more day to day. If you find going to the doctor stressful in your country, trust me, it is magnified when you're abroad between the language barrier, cultural differences, different ways of preparing the medication. It can be very stressful when visiting the doctor or the hospital abroad. So I recommend getting your travel medical insurance sorted so you know exactly what to expect when you're abroad and there's no panic moments for you. If you're looking for a high quality policy, I recommend Nomad Health by Safety Wing. You'll get coverage in over 175 countries, and it will include things like medical services, doctor's visits, hospital stays, mental health coverage, emergency medical evacuations, and more. You can also add on dental and optical if you like. When you're teaching teaching abroad, you're usually only covered by basic healthcare in the country where you're teaching. So if you need anything beyond that, and if you want to take a few trips over the weekend to different countries, you're often not covered. That's where something like Nomad Health can be really helpful. If you're teaching online, it's even more helpful because you're often traveling from country to country. So it's not like you're getting out a new healthcare policy for each country that you're going to. That's where something like travel medical insurance can help you if you're working remotely because you're going many different places and you can rely on the same quality of coverage. If you are a digital nomad, if you're on a digital nomad visa, a lot of those visas require you to purchase healthcare in order to get your visa, and Nomad Health can qualify you for these types of visas. With Nomad Health, you'll get coverage for a year and you can pay monthly. And if you need to file a claim, it's really easy. You just use their online portal and you'll get reimbursed in less than 14 days. If you'd like to check to see if you are eligible for Nomad Health, then just go to my link, which is eslteacher365.com/Nomad Health. Here you'll fill out a quick survey to see if you are eligible and you'll get a quote. Thank you, Safety Wing, for sponsoring this portion of today's video. And if you'd like to support my channel, go and see if you're eligible for Nomad Health. Every time I'm planning on moving to a new country, or even if I just am planning a trip, I will go and see a travel nurse and we'll go over any vaccines that I need, anything I need topped up, or any new vaccines, and also medications. I've traveled places like Morocco and Thailand, Costa Rica. Sometimes they've given me things like malaria pills, or I've had things, maybe a preventative antibiotic, typhoid pills as well. And this is just a good way to make sure that you are going to be safe and healthy when traveling abroad. I've also gotten a first aid kit from the travel nurse that included some different medications that are good for travelers and also some basic first aid items. I love to hike and explore when I'm abroad, so this has come in handy. So I do suggest setting up an appointment with a travel nurse before you go and teach abroad. It's very common to feel lonely, isolated, even anxious and depressed when teaching abroad. You're far from your family and friends, you're in a whole new world, and because of the language barrier, you might not understand everything that's going on. There's a lot of cultural differences, so give yourself some grace, but also take care of your mental health. First of all, some tips for making friends. I suggest having a language exchange partner so you can get a little bit more integrated into the culture and start learning the language. You can try and live with locals. You can get to know the other teachers at your school, and you can try different activities or go to things like meetups. It's really important to build your own support system when you are living abroad, especially because of time differences. You might not be able to call your family and friends at kind of normal hours that you're used to. Of course, if you find that you just are still really anxious or you're dealing with depression, it is time to seek help abroad, and there are some English-speaking therapists, especially if you're teaching in a larger city. That is something that you can find. I actually went to therapy for the first time when I was living in Spain, and at that point I spoke enough Spanish to do my therapy in Spanish, but there are options for English-speaking therapists as well, and of course you can also look online, or if you go with Nomad Health, you will get mental health coverage too. As I mentioned before, I have lived in 6 different countries, which means that I've had different medical situations in 6 different countries, except for Egypt. I somehow never ended up even at a doctor's office there. But that just means that if you're getting vaccines, if you're having new illnesses or conditions diagnosed, then you need to be keeping track of that, and you're the only one that can do that because the healthcare systems obviously are not connected between different countries. So I always make sure to have different records, like my vaccine records or lists of my conditions and medications, on a digital copy on my Google Drive. That way I can easily pull it up if I need to go to the doctor or go to the hospital. And I always ask when I'm in a new country for copies of everything. If they do blood tests, if they do scans, I'll make sure that I get those copies. And I usually just say that, oh, my doctor in the US requested it, which yes, fair enough, I could send that to them, but it's mostly for me because I know that I am in charge of tracking my own medical records. Another tip is to know how to say your medical conditions and the medication that you need in the local language. Whether you're teaching abroad, you're traveling around, it's just safest if you know how to communicate that in case of an emergency. You need to check to see if your medication is actually legal in the countries where you're going to be teaching or traveling. Sometimes it might be legal in your country, but that specific medication isn't legal in another country. So check that first. And then also check to see if your medication is available in another country. Say that it's not available, then you'll need to go to your doctor and get an advanced supply. If you're going to be gone for a year, get a year's supply. And also ask for a doctor's note because you might need to show this at the border if you're bringing this medication in with you. If the medication is available in the other country that you're going to teach in or to travel in, sometimes it's going to be under a different name. So just be aware the name might be a little bit different, and then you can check to see how easy it is to access there. If you're an American, good news, we're used to our prescriptions being ridiculously overpriced. For example, I had some eye drops in the US that were about $200 a bottle. When I needed them in Spain, I went to the pharmacy and they were €3. So things are usually a lot more affordable in other countries if you're an American and you're used to those crazy, crazy prescription prices. I hope that this video helps you feel more confident about navigating your health abroad. If you have any questions, just leave a comment down below. If you'd like some help getting started teaching abroad or online, you can fill out my survey linked in the description and I will email you back with some helpful links and tips. You can find me on Instagram at ESLTeacher365 and don't forget to check and see if you're eligible for Nomad Health. If you'd like to learn more about teaching online while abroad, you can watch this video next. Happy teaching!